Bob Chick back with Sugar Shawn Ray, and who better to break down an Olympia than a man who's been on the Olympia stage more than anybody in history? Well, that's not exactly true, but you know what I mean. Sugar, you were up there, what, 12 times?
Right. Yes. I was close, 13. I think Dexter's got the record at 20, 21, something like that. But yeah, what a crazy long weekend for number 61 in the Olympia in the
You're
record
telling me.
books. It was. I'm still
Bro,
recovering. It
my
was
my
Tuesday.
feet actually are still sore. You know, it doesn't get any, nothing gets older as it gets easier as we get older, but I got to be honest, it's a tough weekend, man. It's literally an hour turnaround between prejudging and finals for both days.
Well,
Hopefully some of
again,
his
hence my suggestion. My suggestion for the summer Olympia and the winter
no,
Olympia. I think people are starting to hear me.
you
They're
know what?
starting to
I'm
hear
starting.
me.
You're starting
Split
to
it
actually
up.
get a believer in me because if I could split this in two, it'd be a hell of a lot easier. But not the worst idea you've had. You've had some pretty bad ones. But listen, it's all about the Olympia. It's all about the men's open. That's what we're going to start with. That's our feature, of course, and we have a lot to get to because let's face it, a lot of these things I think were pretty on point. Most of our stuff was on point, of course, which we're going to gloat about. But at the end of the day, it's Derek in the winner's circle reclaims the title. That used to be a thing that was only done by one person in history, and that, of course, was Jay Cutler. But we've actually got a few of those instances this weekend we'll bounce around with. But let's get your opinion on the champ. So Derek takes it all, puts 600 grand in his pocket, which puts him in the record books also, Shawn, for $1.1 million this year in prize money.
Yeah, kudos to him. And listen, it's not beyond the realm that a guy like Hadi Choopan can kind of do the same thing. Because if he goes here, he gets 250,000 for his second place finish. Goes to the Arnold Classic in 2026 and wins 750,000. I'm not a mathematician, but that sounds like $1 million to me. And then goes to Pittsburgh and does what Derek did last year, he'd be right there with him. But it was not a slam dunk for Derek Lunsford. First of all, congratulations to Derek. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I actually had Hadi Choopan winning that competition, and a lot of other people did too. Now, that's just a matter of opinion, but it sounded very reminiscent of the apples and oranges. I heard a lot more things were wrong with the champion, the ultimate winner, that you can kind of pick apart than I did about Hadi Choopan, because I kept on asking, well, what was wrong with Hadi? What was wrong with Hadi? What was wrong with Hadi? But when you talk to the masses, there are numerous things about the champion that you can kind of use against him. He was better Saturday night than he was on Friday, but I think Hadi overall held his own up against the back. I think they were almost equal from the rear. But from the front, I had Hadi Choopan all day long.
Well, interestingly, and we don't get this a lot. Usually, it's pretty much a slam dunk for somebody, or or it's close, but it's the majority kind of goes one way. What I saw was Derek and Hadi fighting for the win almost immediately. But I got to be honest, I had Andrew Jack right there. I would have had no problem, and I have not said this on a whole lot of Olympias, with any of those top three guys being Mr. Olympia. I can make a case for Derek. I can make a case for Hadi. And I can make a case for Andrew Jack. And I've been very high on Andrew Jack, especially since he emerged last year at the Texas show, which what I thought was just a phenomenal physique and very reminiscent of another good big man in Samson. But I can make a case for any one of those three. So I see where you're coming from, Shawn. Let's break down Derek and Hadi because that is the hot topic right now. A lot of people got Hadi winning, and he did win. He won one portion,
Yeah.
and Derek won the other. You know, there's where it meets in the middle. One more judge has Derek winning.
Well, I had Hadi Choopan winning Friday and Saturday. For me, Hadi was going to ultimately be the winner. I thought Samson would be able to pull a rabbit out of his hat because he simply has a better body than both
Absolutely.
of these guys.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. He was a little deflated and a little flat, but I thought like Phil Heath in the past, he might be able to resurrect something on Saturday night. We didn't have a chance to do a review Saturday night. I would have said as much, but rightfully so. Dropping to fourth place was where he needed to be because that's I wish that had been the case back in the '90s when the champion's
Right.
off, you mark them down. 1997 when we had Nasser El Somebody beating Dorian Yates handily and still coming up short. In this instance, it was a matter of apples and oranges. I mean, either you like Derek or you like Hadi. I think if we polled the audience, the majority of the people in the audience and the viewing audience probably would have agreed that Hadi Choopan should have, could have, won that competition, yet came up short for whatever reasons. I'm not a judge. That said, I also wouldn't have an argument if they had given
Yeah.
that thing to Andrew Jack because he was the
Right?
most improved. He stood out amongst all of those guys, and I don't really know how that fan favorite is chosen, but Andrew Jack had the fan favorite. He should have got that award hands down, bottom line.
Yeah.
Fan favorite and potentially Mr. Olympia. We got to give Andrew Jack his dues, but I thought Hadi Choopan was Mr.
Well,
Olympia
you know
Saturday
what?
night.
You can certainly make that case, and that's why we play the game. The question, and again, we're going to hop around a little bit because I'm going to shoot to Samson right for a minute. So the champ comes in. It's immediately apparent in the prejudging that he's off a little bit. Now we're kind of waiting. Okay, is he going to get better? Is he going to sharpen up as he goes? But you could see he was down a little bit, like you said, deflated a little bit in his size overall and his fullness. And it didn't elicit a better physique, unfortunately. Now, my question to you, Shawn, is this. We have covered this all year, and we have speculated since he decided to go in the Arnold, which, if we were to pull up an old clip, you would hear me say, probably not a good idea for the champ to go in the Arnold for a few good reasons. One, he's the champ. Go and be the champ, right? Go be Mr. Olympia and all that jazz. Two, it's hard
Agreed.
for a big man, and we have heard this, Shawn, from Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, a lot of the big men through history that have taken the time, gone in the Arnold, done the Olympia, have all said the same thing. Probably wouldn't do it again. Probably wouldn't recommend it. It took a lot of gas out of me, and I felt like I was not at my best at the Olympia. Is that what we saw with Samson Dauda?
Well, there's no question his workload as Mr. Olympia probably was threefold compared to when he was getting set third and fourth in that Olympia contest. He did not anticipate the weight of the crown. Phil Heath brought that up that when you are the champion, you are being pulled in so many different directions that doing the Arnold Classic and the Olympia in the same calendar year, it's tough. The bigger you are, of course, Derek was able to do it. We also know that Hadi Choopan is able to do it. But for a big man, heavy is that crown because you've got so many obligations that take you away from keeping that mass. Not only was Samson smaller in size, he was flat. And by the end of prejudging, you saw the water starting to come out down his neck, right down the center of his pecs,
Yeah.
all gathered around his deltoids. That means he was holding water. I thought he would get better by Saturday night. He pretty much remained the same. He got exactly what he was supposed to get as a professional bodybuilder. It does take some shine off of being Mr. Olympia. You got to remember, I also said he should retire
Right.
after he won the Olympia because that's the crown jewel. That's the crown jewel. He's done. He has nothing else to prove. He could wind up being like Brandon Curry, chasing that elusive title. You know, when Dexter Jackson won it in 2008 and then retired in, I don't know, 2021, he never got another sniff at that title. Samson may never get another sniff at that title if he doesn't just focus on the Olympia. It's going to be hard to do with the Arnold Classic giving away $750,000. I believe the smart play right here with the popularity of Hadi Choopan is to not worry about what people are telling him about this second place. He is right there where Derek was a year ago, and he can rightfully go in there and recapture the Arnold Classic like Jay Cutler. Highly doubt that Derek will be there, like Jay Cutler. And if Samson gets greedy, he can catch Samson. And if Andrew Jack is feeling froggy, he can catch Andrew Jack. Because we said it's harder for a big man. Andrew Jack now is where he needs to be. He should shut it down and wait for that Olympia to come back again next year. Potentially, Andrew Jack could be the 2026 Olympia winner. I don't know that he has enough to make it to Columbus, Ohio, but I do know that Hadi Choopan
Well, Hadi is
does.
in the driver's seat as far as I'm concerned. I actually asked Derek Lunsford at the Sunday Superstar seminar if he had eyes back on the Arnold. I had a pretty good idea of what the answer was. And he pretty much says, no, I think I learned my lesson. And he said, it was hard, man. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And pretty
Yeah.
much said he would probably not do it again. That said, Shawn, this really puts Samson's in a real interesting position because now he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Okay, you came up short here in fourth place, but now he's back in that same cycle. It's like, okay, does he take November off and then you go back on December, January, February? You got you got 3 months
My
until
advice.
the Arnold. And now you're in that cycle, right? And again, this is harder for a big man. Shawn, you're a perfect guy to talk about this because while you weren't the biggest guy on stage by any stretch, you were certainly one of the best in the world. But you could maintain shape. You were always in shape, even in the off season,
Yeah.
doing your various guest posings around the world and such. So Where does it put Samson? Hadi is clearly going to go in the Arnold. There's no question about it. It's his for the taking, and it's $750,000. Good for Hadi, but he was smart enough to
Right.
take this year off. So now, what do you do if you're running Samson's camp? Do you take off until next year's Olympia, or do you target something else? Where do you go?
I would. I would. He's got a lifetime qualification by being a former Mr. Olympia, so he does not have to
Correct.
qualify. He still has work on his calendar as Mr. Olympia, I'm sure, to finish out the balance of this year. So he should be doing the things that he wasn't able to do last year because he was training for the Arnold Classic. So there are things at the top of the spring that he could not do because he was dieting for that show. So if I'm him, I do the business of bodybuilding all the way up until March, and then I start putting on my Mr. Olympia recapture the crown mentality and train from March till next October and try to get that thing back. He's going to need the break just as much as Derek is going to need the break. Hadi coming off of a full year, coming off of a second place, which he's pissed off and angry. He is positioned and poised to, like you said, win the biggest prize in sports as far as prize money, but also get his second Arnold Classic championship. Do not sleep on Martin Fitzwater. He's good, but I think Hadi is better.
Well, this also brings up an interesting premise for Derek. Let's not gloss over that. Derek has already said he's not doing the Arnold. Now, does Derek go back to Pittsburgh? Now, if he's not going to do the Arnold, I can't imagine he would do Pittsburgh, right? So
No, he waits for the Olympia.
he's got to wait now because I think, he may think that may have cost him, or most people might think that might have cost him. But again, the smaller guy, can retain shape, although he said it was the most difficult thing. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say we don't see Derek until next year's Olympia. We probably don't see.
I agree, which is
We don't see
play.
Samson until next year's Olympia. Andrew Jack, and I want to kind of stick on him for a second because, as we both said, I could have seen him being crowned Mr. Olympia all day long. But give me a couple of reasons why Andrew Jack does not beat Hadi or Derek.
His legs are not on par with either of those guys in terms of full development, especially in the hamstrings. He's got some pretty decent high, knotty calves. He's got a long way from the calf. He's got a long way to go from the calf to the ankle, so it's a little bit high up there. He is not Mr. Charisma whatsoever on that stage. There's not a lot that's going to draw you to him. He looked like an athlete. He was in shape. He was lean. He never broke a sweat, but he just was not. I mean, you're missing that aggression that you want him to have. And I think it probably has more to do with his lack of confidence. He didn't probably realize he was the best conditioned, best looking athlete up there probably until it was over. Had he knew that going into the show, I think he would have approached that show a little bit with more confidence, more attitude, which we were looking for, and it never did materialize. However, I think if that most popular whatever
People's champ,
People's Champion
right?
award was to be given out, I'm curious how that is. That something you call in or you punch on a?
So
How do you
that
win
is
that?
actually exclusive to the sitting audience that's there. Now, I will tell you, Hadi is incredibly popular, especially overseas, as I'm already getting flooded with people, fans from Iran. By the way, people, I don't judge, and neither does Shawn. Okay, so I appreciate the enthusiasm and all, but stop with all the conspiracy things and stuff and hate. And listen, we didn't judge. Like I just said, we both just said we could have had three guys winning the show. That shows we're not favoring anybody. Listen, Shawn, I just asked you for a few reasons why Andrew Jack does not win the show. Give me a couple of reasons why he does win. Make a case for Andrew Jack winning the Olympia this year.
One, he's the most improved. So he came from the back of the pack. We had him somewhere in the top 5, fourth or fifth, maybe even sixth. But he shocked all of us when he showed up ready for battle. He never faded. He actually got better. By Saturday night, he actually looked better than he did
Agreed.
on Friday. So not only did he show up and fulfill the promise that he had never kept before, but he was surprisingly balanced. He's a little slight in the hamstrings. He's a little long in the calf area, from the heel up to the top of the calf. His back is not super thick, especially compared to the smaller guys. Andrew Jack was either going to be first or third as soon as he hit the stage. There was no question about that. And unfortunately, we don't judge, but he was up against two former Mr. Olympias. That weighed heavily against him. I think ideally it would have been the best thing for bodybuilding, right? We always want to cheer for the underdog, but had Andrew Jack won, I'm wondering where the resistance would have
Right.
come from. I know 100% he would have had a standing ovation. The entire
Yeah.
country of Nigeria would have been
You're
jumping
right.
up and down. Dubai would have been firework city. I mean, it would have been something that we haven't seen since Ronnie Coleman. Bottom line. So Andrew had me cheering for him, but when I settled into my seat and I kept looking, I just couldn't see Hadi losing the show. And when he did, it validated to me why I'm not a judge.
So this is interesting because we always talk about and have for many years now comparison. Bodybuilding, especially at this level, at the Olympia level, is all about comparison. And it does make a difference who you're standing next to. So when Samson came out and he was less than his best, those are the two big men on there, is Samson and Jack. Unfortunately for Jack, it kind of brings him in comparison with Samson as the two big boys, and Hadi and Derek automatically are kind of brought into comparison because of their height and structure, which is identical. So it's interesting because it kind of paired them off into twos, and it's interesting because Martin, who's not the shortest and not the tallest, is right in the center, and he compared very favorably. I got to be honest, when Martin first came out, I thought, okay, now this is the Martin that we need to see in Pittsburgh. This is the Martin. If this Martin showed up in Pittsburgh, he would have won that $100,000 in the title. But that's not what happened. But that was then, and this is now. But I thought Martin looked great. I thought it's the best Martin we've seen. I don't think he faded at all. Honestly, you could have made a case for Martin being up in that top four.
Yeah, well, Martin fell out of favor with me in Pittsburgh. He almost looked like a promise that wasn't kept. Got too big, and maybe that was the plan all along, is to put on some size so he could chisel it up. He made a post. Actually, he didn't make a post. He texted me. He said, I congratulated him. I thought, wow, you're the surprise along with Andrew Jack of the weekend. But he responded, detail, detail, detail. I knew I was never going to be the biggest. And like you, I was going to beat them on detail. He's 100% right. I mean, he was right where he needed to be. I would have loved to see him compared a little bit more with Hadi and with Derek. I don't think that happened very much, but he was right where he needed to be. And if the truth be told, he could have wound up in fourth place and Samson in fifth place based
Well,
on
I'll say this. Listen, good for Martin. He came back and improved. He improved over Pittsburgh, like you said, who that didn't do himself any favors with that weight. He learned his lesson and he came back strong. I tell you what, you want an early dark horse pick to win the Arnold? I would go with Martin Fitzwater. I don't know if he's entering or not. If I was running his camp, he would absolutely be in there because he can hang with Hadi Choopan. Now, can he beat him? Listen, anything can happen, right? Hadi's been at this for a while, and he's obviously very good, and he's very consistent. But Martin is now establishing himself as very good and very consistent. So, what do you think for the Arnold Martin for to be in there in comparison?
Yeah, I mean, with all of these shows, the playing field is level because the prize money is too good to sit
Yeah,
home
right.
and watch. I mean, Martin doesn't have to keep filling out and developing. He's arrived fourth in the Olympia, fifth in the Olympia. He's here. He's done it before. He did Pittsburgh this past year. I mean, he was off, but I mean, he still wound up in third, I believe it was. Was he third or was he fourth
Third.
in Pittsburgh? So even when he's off, he's still better than the rest. So he's not a big guy. Going to the Arnold Classic, like Flex, like Dexter, like myself, I did it 3 times. It's not that far off. He does not have to get big. He doesn't have to blow up. Stay lean, stay close, and then by the time the middle of December comes, ramp things back up again. Take a nice little break for the rest of October. He's the guy we could be talking about in that top 3 at the Arnold. And by the way, top 3 at the Arnold is not like it used to be. Top 3 in the Arnold, the prize money is life changing for some of these
Listen,
guys.
$50,000 is nothing to sneeze about.
Well, that's for first. I'm talking about
Even
second
that's
and
good
third.
money.
I don't know that if Hadi's there,
That's good money too.
Huh?
I mean, listen, this is like I said. Listen, we don't run these people's camps. I don't even know who their coaches are sometimes, or their managers, whatever. Everybody's got it. Everybody now, but whoever's out there listening, like this is definitely something you should be considering because I think Martin would be a favorite along with Hadi early on to see who could gain that title and that big money. But your next competitor, Shawn, was indeed the 8th bodybuilder that I announced on the stage at the Olympia. That's right, Shawn. Nick Walker was number 8 in the order.
He was number number 8, but he should have actually been. He actually should have been in 8th. Truth be told, and that ain't a knock on him. He was actually legitimately in my book. He was 100,000% an eighth place finalist. When I heard that he was in sixth afterwards, I need somebody to explain that to me because Tonio and Brandon Curry both beat him on Friday and
Well, we're
on
going to get
Saturday
into
night.
that in just a second, Shawn. But as I promised, and as we were going back and forth, and everybody wanted to give me crap, I kept telling people I will announce Nick in eighth place at the Olympia. And I did. He was the eighth bodybuilder. So I did announce him in eighth. But that said, I'm going to take that small victory to heart. He did end up in sixth. Now, it was very apparent. What happened, Shawn? He came out in prejudging, and anybody with an eye could see that this was not going to be anywhere near the best Nick Walker. Matter of fact, it might very well have been the worst Nick Walker I've seen competing on a stage. So what happened?
Well, I said it long before the show, Bob. The Olympia stage is not Pittsburgh. It ain't New
Yeah,
York. You're
right,
standing with the best in the world. And when you get on that stage and those lights hit you, and you see all of those other legendary bodybuilders that aren't on the stage and the up and comers that are on the stage, and you got your camp and you arrive at the big dance, all of that pressure, all of those nerves, all that cortisone, and all the things you have to do before you stand on stage. You know, you got meet the Olympians, you got the press conference, you got the distance, you have the distance from your hotel room to the arena. You show up backstage, you got to lay around for 2 hours. All of these little things, it's just like a lumberjack hitting the base of a
right.
redwood tree, and none of them work in his favor because he's a big brick. He is Nick the Brick. He is so big that literally he has to come out of his room and right on the stage. All the other stuff that
Right.
you got to do, that works against him. It's water retention, it's nervousness, it's confidence. It is a long walk from the hotel room to the backstage waiting area to center stage, and all of that worked
Well,
against him.
listen, the year kind of works against him to a degree because I'm not so sure that had he not had to pull out the last 2 years, that he wouldn't have pulled out this year. And I say that because I don't know if I'm liking what I'm seeing. Obviously, neither one of us are fans of his physique. We've been very adamant. We've caught him a lot of crap about that. Okay, so but we don't care. Okay, we assess physiques. That's what we do. I did not like what I was seeing during his prep. He was huge. And not in a good way. Okay. Listen, you
Yeah,
can be too big in this game. I know that's bodybuilding blasphemy, Shawn, to actually insist that somebody might be too big. But and he said the golden words that we both hate to hear, and you know it's an instant kiss of death. I put on another 10 pounds of muscle getting ready for this show.
yeah, it wasn't muscle. He put on something. It wasn't muscle. Listen, he's still young. The mistakes he's making are on the one stage that you can ill afford to make mistakes. And he's not a rookie. But when you're away for 2 years and then you come back and think that you can pick up where you left off because you're bigger. Listen, when he was, what was he, third
Third.
that one
Yeah.
year? He didn't have to change anything. Instead, he thought he needed to be bigger. Cardinal mistake number one, especially against guys his own height. Derek and Hadi, he almost stacks up neck and neck. So now that you've supersized it, he's got to go back to streamlining. And that's harder to do than lifting that
Well,
heavy weight.
streamlining is exactly what we both had advised him to do some years ago because you're right, getting bigger is not going to help him. And now he's proved himself and he's exposed himself that not only was getting bigger detrimental to his physique, but it was catastrophic. This is a guy, don't forget, that at the press conference, and we were having some fun out there, said that you'll be calling my name as Mr. Olympia Saturday night. And I said, go for it, kid. Listen, I'd love to see it. It would be a great moment in bodybuilding history. But he wasn't even close. He came out and you could see immediately the upper body is bigger. I don't think it's better, but it's bigger. But the problem is he's already got a problem with shape. And all it did was lend that he was a little bit blockier. It made his legs look even more up and down, a void of sweep. He was still formidable from the back. You know, his back double by was still very good, and he could hang in the side. But man, the front and the other shots, the front abdominal, the most muscular, those were not good shots for him.
Well, let me give him a case study. Mike Quinn, former Mr. USA, didn't have the best structure nor the best shape. But when he showed up in shape, he started taking names. He took me out. He took Samir Banu out. He took out Bob Paris. He took out Ron Love. I mean, he beat some heavy hitters, and I believe he wound up in fifth place at the Mr. Olympia one year. Okay, that's a guy who didn't have any shape, he didn't have any structure. But when he showed up in shape, he showed he was capable of beating the genetic freaks. When he showed up bigger because he thought he dieted down too small, I think it was 204 pounds in that Olympia. When he got bigger, went to the WBF and tried to come back to the IFBB, he got bigger and everybody took turns kicking him in the ass. Because on that stage, that size did not equate to the smaller guys that were in shape. Nick doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. Nick has to get in shape. The internet is not a place for you to judge whether you're in shape or not based on the feedback you're getting from your fans. Because again, everybody looks great when they're by themselves. He looked like a freak on the Instagram. But you know what? Take the Instagram away and start looking in the mirror and stop doing all of this for the fans. I think he'll hone in more on his condition. Watch the pose down of the Mr. Olympia. Nick probably hit 3 or maybe 4 shots. He was moving slow. He didn't want to gas out. He didn't want to breathe too heavy because he couldn't. He was too heavy. And that was the place where you actually fight. You get hungry and you bump elbows and you showed it. He was moving very slow, very lethargic. That happens when you're too heavy and you're water retentive and you have
You
too
could
much
see
body
in the
fat.
prejudging the gas was out of the sails. The minute he knew he wasn't at his best, at that point. When the call out came and he wasn't in it, you could literally see the air right out of his sails. He shrunk. I mean in a bodybuilding way that we all know. He knew he was out of it. He knew, he was playing catch up at that point. Here's the big questions, and let's tackle the big questions, Shawn. That's why we get the big money. All right. Is this the end for Nick Walker? Have we seen the best of Nick Walker? And is it reversible? Meaning, can this guy now go back and streamline his physique, or is that ship sailed?
No, I don't think it's ship sailed. We all have a day off. I mean, sometimes losing is the best medicine. This is 6th place, okay? He knows what he missed out on. He probably has recognized all of the mistakes. He probably realizes not to trust the internet
Maybe.
for feedback. He probably realizes that, you know what? He knows when you're heavy and you can't hit the shots and nothing's happening, you know what you have to do to fix it. You just can't do it in the moment. And he's going to play this moment over and over and over. And sometimes losing is the best medicine. I would not be so out of pocket in saying that he goes for number 4 at the New York Pro again and try to get that. That's somewhere where he's built a reputation and a name for
Yep.
himself. And he's been very successful there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up there. If he shows up in Ohio, I think it's too
Well,
soon.
that was you just took my next question, which was, does he go to the Arnold? And you clearly just stated too soon. It's an interesting display. Personally, I thought the moment was probably too big for him in terms of mentally, in terms of again, this kid put a lot of pressure on himself, man. And listen, it's a good reason. You just didn't make it to the stage the last 2 years. And I think people kind of got to, listen, I'm going to defend Nick in this one. That'll come as a surprise to a lot of people, but we speak truth when we talk about these things. Listen, he had pressure to get on that stage this year. Maybe he wasn't feeling it 4 weeks out. Maybe something else went wrong in his prep, but he absolutely, under no way, shape, or form, could pull out of this Olympia. So
No,
he painted
that's
himself
tough.
into this corner, and he had to get on there, do or die, and he did
Yeah.
that. And listen, I didn't have him 6 either, and I hate to say this because we just have to say it though. I had him in 8th place. I could have had him,
He
honestly,
was
I
8th
could have
place,
had him in
Bob.
9th place. And I'm saying this with all due respect to all competitors, but I don't think there's a lot of people. Again, I'd like to hear too why they had him in 6th.
Well, listen. Let me say it since I never did. I heard you say it, but I literally wanted to stand up and say Brandon Curry, Antonio both beat this guy, and they both should have gotten credit. I mean, I could not believe that Brandon Curry was able to keep it together at this stage of his career because I wrote him off. I was like, Brandon's going to wind up in 10th. We're not going to see him again. But he could have easily been in 6th place, Antonio in 7th, or Tonio in 6th and Brandon in 7th. But the one thing that stood clear is Nick had to go through with this show. And maybe somewhere in his economy before the show, he thought, I don't really want to go out there. My body's not responding. I don't look the way I should look. But there was no way out. He painted himself into that corner. He shared the narrative at the press conference that he was going to win. That's what competitors do. And at the end of the day, he lived up to his obligation, signed an Olympia contract. He lived out his dream by making it back to the stage. And I think now, if he calculates his time and doesn't rush back on stage, maybe even do an August show, Texas or Tampa. It puts him closer to peaking for the Olympia and not having to peak in May and then wrap it back up. He's got to be very strategic in 2026, but I don't think he's done. I still think
Yeah,
he's got
I agree.
potential. He's popular. He missed his peak.
I
He'll learn a
agree.
lesson.
No, he's not done. For all the people out there, he's finished. He's done. You know, is his career done? No, he's not. He's a young guy. Okay, give him a break. And yes, he's made some mistakes along the way in terms of size. He does not need more size. More size is now detrimental, as we're seeing. And Shawn, you were 100% on the money. If I was running his camp, first of all, don't forget, he did Pittsburgh last year first. So he got ready earlier than normal. Then he hung on because he had to qualify in New York. And you're right. He is not a guy, even though he's not a tall guy, he's a big guy. And he does not fare well waiting that long and all that prep time to get the Olympia. I'm with you. I'm going last show of the year. I'm going August or so. Again, whatever the last qualifier. The problem, the chances are at that point, if it's somebody beating him, and the qualifier is almost zero. So he shows up in three-quarter shape, he's going to win, and then boom, you got a short porch into the Olympia. So, Nick, there's some free advices for me and Shawn. You know, much in the Rocky campaign with Apollo Creed, you know, taking over once his nemesis, now his coach, Shawn. We are offering our services of free advices, always the right ones, to Nick Walker. So, Nick, we love you. Unfortunately, you came up a little short, no pun intended. But I got to be honest, man. I got Brandon ahead of him, and I got Tonio ahead of him. That puts him in 8th. No pun intended. But 9th and 10th, you got to give credit to the veteran of the crew, William Bonac, still bringing it, still look good. Again, another guy you could have made a case that he could have been up a couple spots. And good Vito, who's a relative newcomer. Vitali, you know what? Good solid appearance, 10th place in his first Olympia. Did himself no shame, a lot of muscle. Got to improve on that shape a little bit. He's kind of in the same boat as Nick, where it's like you don't need more size, kid. You need refining. And I got to say, Shawn, for our veterans out there that are old school guys watching, what a great comparison with Mike Quinn, because as we remember Mike Quinn, Mike was all upper body, right? He had those big, great arms, beautiful arms, and his back was outstanding, but his legs were a little up and down, void of sweep. And his midsection, those big blocky abs, right? And but you know what? He was just a stretched up version of Nick. And you're right. When he was in shape, he was dangerous. When he was out of shape, he was out of the money.
And that's what Nick has to concentrate on, not size, condition, shape. Give his body a break, relax. That doesn't mean go out and eat all the pizzas and get fat and just enjoy the off season. Take a break and streamline your physique. That takes work. That actually takes a calculated mind to think, okay, I need to restructure how I'm approaching this. Yeah, I'm a freak. That freak factor only works if you're in shape. Mike Quinn, we knew him as a formidable competitor only when he was in shape. When he was off season, there was nothing to talk about. And Nick is popular. He can travel the world. He can do tours. He can make up for the lack of prize money by doing the business of bodybuilding. But he needs to stay lean all year round, and that doesn't mean pedal to the metal. It just means be careful with how much size you
Shawn, let's
on.
get into the lightning round of guys who didn't quite make the top 10, but still some names to consider here. Urs making his first appearance in the open men's category. That was not the best Urs we've seen this year.
Wait. We're skipping over like one or two. I believe Urs was 13.
Well, I'm just going down. I'm not going in order on the.
Well, I'm just trying to get perspective on where I said he was.
You were correct, Shawn. He was not in the top 10, and he was fighting. That's not the best Urs I've seen. And listen, this is a big moment. People tend to forget.
Why? Bob, don't just throw it out there. That's not the best Urs I've seen. Tell me why he wasn't the best.
Because he shouldn't have gone on this Olympia, right? I mean, listen, we got to give credit to ourselves. When we're right, okay? And while we not always be right, we ain't never wrong, okay, people?
We ain't ever wrong. Except once. We were wrong this year, only on one individual. We haven't brought him up. We're gonna get there, and that was
okay. Well, you're gonna put that one in your back pocket.
That was a big one that we missed on this. Beirut.
Oh yeah. Well,
we had Beirut.
Hang on.
We had him potentially winning the show. I mean, I had him in the top 3 on paper.
Here's the thing, okay? You got to give Beirut and us a pass on this one, and I'll tell you why, okay? Listen, the fact he even got a visa was a miracle. Okay, this guy finds out a week ahead of the show that he can go to America. And you said this before, Shawn, and again, you're accurate with that. I don't care how confident you are or how much passion you have for this game. With the notion that the last 3 years you've been denied from your own government getting out of the country, there is no way mentally
Yeah.
that you could being preparing 100% when you know deep in your heart that you're probably not going to go anyway. Okay, when you have a
Yeah.
finality, when you got if they gave him the ticket a month out, 6 weeks out, and now he knows he's going,
Right.
you're putting all your eggs into that basket, right? So I got to give the kid a pass. Okay, listen, he's a tremendous bodybuilder. It wasn't the worst we've seen. I mean, he looked good. I think he ended up in 11th or somewhere thereof. But listen, he was a little soft.
Yeah.
It wasn't, the best Beirut that I've seen out of all the shows I've seen him. But you know, he's in a foreign country for the first time. He's got foods he's never eaten, right? He's got, listen, all this stuff comes into play. I'm not making excuses for the kid. What I'm telling everybody is give him a break. And let me tell you, if he can get back here again next year with some clarity well in advance, I think you're going to see a Beirut that's a threat. Because if you look at his physique in its entirety, he is a threat to the top five.
Yeah, no, but that pressure, that stress would have done anybody in. I know. I mean, everybody, why do you always talk about yourself? I know because I went to the Olympia after being a national champion, supposed to be in the top five of the Olympia, and I was 13th, a la Urs Kalachinsky. Now, Urs, which is what I was telling him, he's taller, he's slender, he needs more thickness in the back, he needs more weight on his arms and his triceps. He needs to grow into being a bodybuilder. Classic physique is not bodybuilding. This guy's been streamlined to build up against these guys. He's got to pack on the weight. He's got to take some time off. Not that he wasn't good enough. He was not ready for prime time. Beirut, mentally, if your mind is not taking you there, your body is not going to follow. For him, he had a chance to get out of his country, had a chance to come to the Olympia. I mean, the
Yeah,
whole thing happened in a
agreed.
week. So for him, I'm giving him a pass because he didn't even know that. Now he knows. When he's at home laying in his bed in Iran, he's not wondering what the whole thing looks like because he's watching on pay-per-view. He now knows if he gets another bite at the apple that he will be ready. Like myself, I was 13th and I jumped up to third. I know what that process is like, watching, standing there like Urs was, kind of cold
Yeah,
on the stage because
right.
nobody's calling your number. You're looking around, it's a great show, and you're like, holy crap. And did they call me? Is it my turn yet? And you're just getting smaller and shrinking and disappearing, and your confidence phase. And then suddenly you got to kind of go out there like, I guarantee you that was not the experience Urs wanted to Sharon, but like Nick, he signed the paper. He had to go get served up, and I'm quite sure after Friday night, he thought, "What the hell did I get myself into? I probably should have taken Shawn's advice and just watched to learn." Now, take the year off, Urs. Get big like Gunther
Yeah, right.
Schlierkamp. Load up. Lift the heavy ass weight like Ronnie
Yeah,
Coleman
buddy.
talks about. Find those guys that want to fight you in the gym and grow, because that's what that kid needs. He needs more growth.
He's going to do it this year. He will be a force to contend with. I predict right now next year. This kid's he's growing like a weed. You're right. This was kind of ill advised, but that's okay. He made his own decision, and that's cool. But now he gets back to the business of bodybuilding. I say you see Urs next year winning whatever
Late,
show
late
that he
next year.
gets in. And hopefully, I hope again another free advices from the boys here. Okay, don't go in the Arnolders. Okay, don't go in the Arnold too soon. Don't have enough time to make improvements. You need the off season. You need to take that time. Okay, to
Yes.
to and to get real muscle. Listen, you can put on size and not put on real muscle.
Well,
There's a difference.
and let me say the difference in the Arnold and the Olympia. Of course, you've got to qualify for the Olympia. You're not going to qualify for the Olympia doing the Arnold Classic Urs. That's directed at Urs. Nick Walker is not going to qualify for the Olympia going into this year's Arnold Classic. It's too much. It's too soon. Those are sound advice based on someone that's done the Olympia and the Arnold. And Urs needs to grow, and Nick needs to
Yes,
rest. Those are two reasons why we're advising you not to compete in the show. Not that you can't win it. You can't win it this year, or I should say in 2026, if you got Andrew jacked and you've got Hadi Choopan going. I'm going to go on record as saying I do not think Derek will wind up there. So those two guys are going to be battling for first and second place. Leaves the door open,
Yeah,
third,
sure.
fourth, and fifth at the Arnold Classic. That's a whole nother storyline. But there's still some guys. Again, if you want to call it gaining experience by walking across the Olympia
What?
stage, go ahead. What is that going to do for your career? Dorian Haywood, where was he in this competition? I'm not 100% sure. I
Well,
saw him for about 5
tied
minutes
for
and then he was
16th. Yeah.
invisible. Okay. Well, I hope you had a great experience walking across the stage. And now it's back to considering some Masters shows again.
So
Who else was in that
here
list?
are some interesting names that were there. Most notably, Regan Grimes. Now, I'm going to stick on my boy Regan for a minute because we did take a little heat for that one. And
We
the
did.
funny part was to that is exactly what we were saying was exactly what happened. Okay, for those.
And we're not about to gloat. This is
No,
not gloating.
this is
Go
not
ahead and tell the
gloating.
truth,
It's
Bob.
telling people. Listen, there's a reason that we've got all these years in this business. Okay, that we can see what we see, and you have to have an
You're a
eye
mile
for
away.
this stuff. Listen, not everybody that's in this game or has a microphone in their hand and calls themselves an expert or a podcast or whatever knows what the hell they're looking at. Okay. I looked at Regan as you did. We both came to the same conclusion, which was okay, good physique, great structure, all those great, nice things we said about Regan. And he won a show and he qualified. And I said,
Yeah.
you know, Regan said something about being in the top 6 of the Olympia. I simply said, if that physique that he just won with is what he thinks is going to be top 6, I'm here to say it's not. Hey, he'll be fighting for 12th or 13th or 14th or something around there. And I'll be damned what he ends up. 14th, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day,
well, he doesn't, his body, from what we've seen, and this was the critique on him, he's got every attribute there is, but his body never seems to progress past the 4 week out mark, meaning he looks like he's about 4 weeks out of a show and everything's there, but he's just not tightened down. He's not ripped. He's not conditioned. He gets out on stage and he spills over. And that's been a pattern. And until he can fix that pattern, that's where he's going to be. He ended up, I hate to say it, in exactly the place that we said he would.
let me go on record and tell like not everyone that qualifies for the Mr. Olympia needs to
Right.
go. It ain't fun. Listen, Regan Grimes won the California Pro, and you're only as good as the guys you beat. Who was second place in California? Sauce?
Yeah, remember him and Sauce were battling. Sauce did like 5 shows to qualify.
And then, well, a week later in Canada, Regan falls short to Sauce, right? So these are the two guys. Where was Sauce in the Mr.
Tied for
Olympia?
16.
Okay. So these are two guys that weren't going to break into the top 10. So in my mind, logically speaking, go and watch the show. Go watch the best in the world. Those are the best in the world on that top 10. If you're not ready for the top 10, there's no crime in qualifying and watching. I don't know that it's necessary to go to be a part of the weekend, take up space on the stage, and put your body through all of that for nothing. I mean, you're not getting. There's nothing to be gained if you're not going to be a competitor in the show. You are a participant. My mind will not allow me to think that I'm going to give up all of my summer, my family, my friends, those meals, those those workouts, the soreness, the sacrifice, the selfishness, so I can go and stand on stage and watch the Olympia contest. I can't bring myself to think that that's what I would do as a professional. I would love to watch it. I'd love to go out there and market it. But if I'm not ready for that show, I can't give away that time that I would never get back. I'm not sure if that's valuable experience because we know that wasn't Reagan's first time at the Olympia. Sauce, I believe, he took some time off. That might have been his first time
Yeah,
there, right?
Sauce is a little different case. He's a veteran competitor. He took some time off some years ago, and then he came back. I talked to Sauce before the show. He's very realistic with where he is. He says, look, it took me, 5 shots to get here this year, but I finally made it. His goal was simply to make it, to get there, okay? And he knew that. He had no aspirations of, I'm going to kick anybody's ass or top 10. He's a real good guy and very realistic in his thinking. Real big as a house, man. He is truly a freak, but God, bro, he is so
What are we talking about?
big
But what are we talking about,
bro,
though, Bob? Okay, this was not a guy that was going to walk into the top 10 and do anything. Not with that structure. He has the muscle. the opposite of Greg Kovacs, who was at one time the
Yeah.
biggest bodybuilder
Yeah.
in the world. But if you put him on the Mr. Olympia, he's just another body on the Olympia stage. Rubio gave the Americans something to look at and think, holy crap. I mean, he should be in the movies, to
Well,
be honest.
listen, he is in the movies because if anybody's watching, Rubio is Thanos. Bro, same exact physique. He's Thanos. This guy, if they make a live action movie of somebody to play Thanos, he's it. Like, that's the body, that's the physique.
Yeah.
This guy is Thanos come to life. Unfortunately, that doesn't translate well. He was so big. I don't know. Can he down train Shawn? He's big as a house. Okay. Anybody that saw him, you can see his legs are gigantic, but they're big like an oak tree is big. They don't have a lot of separation or detail. Is that a genetic thing, or is that can he train his way out of that to get more detail in his body? Is that possible?
I personally wouldn't train my way out of it. Listen, Tom Platz made a career off of showing off his overdeveloped quads. If you take Tom Platz's quads away, we're not talking about Tom Platz, the Golden Eagle. He's just another bodybuilder. Tom played to his strength. Rubio, as a bodybuilder, should continue doing what he does, the same way Victor Richards did. Victor had a contract with Joe Weider and never won a bodybuilding show of
True.
substance. Rubio is relevant in this industry because there's no one like him. He is him, and then he's everyone else. I don't want to take away the fact that I think he might have been the very first Colombian
I believe he was.
bodybuilder on the Olympia stage, and that is a big deal representing the country. Long as his head's screwed on straight, he now recognizes how far away he is from being a relevant competitor in the Olympia stage. He did it. There's really nothing else there for him to do. But if I'm him, the goal is to go and try to win some shows, be strategic about the shows he competes in to actually get a reward. Because there was no reward for him on that stage. I think people appreciated and recognized the size, but you got to get paid at the end of the day. Somebody's got to write you a check. And I can't see him sacrificing his health, his time, and his life so he can go out there as a freak, kind of like, the bearded woman or the guy with the three eyes or, I mean, it's not a circus. So you need to be paid for what you're sacrificing. And now that he's done it, he needs to start picking shows that he thinks he can be competitive in. The
More
Olympics
free
is not
advice is from the tag team combination of Bob and Shawn. If you're listening, Rubio, Nextzilla, okay? Avengers the musical. I can see his name up in the light, Shawn.
Go
if he
Hollywood.
can sing, he's gold, okay? But there's only one more guy I want to bring up in the open. I do want to take a few minutes to capture some of the other categories. If I'm going to give a breakout guy this year that actually represented himself well, looked good, definitely a guy that can do something in the future and work his way up, it's Jordan Hutchinson. This kid looked good. He was muscular. He was in shape. Yeah, I think he was battling in that 12th, 13th, 14th range, somewhere in that area. But he's got a great start to his career. He's a relatively young guy. He's a big boy. He's got to streamline his midsection just a little bit this next year. But congratulations to him because he did a fantastic job in his first Olympia.
He did, along with Brett Wilkins. He represented himself well.
Brett also looked very
finally.
good. Yeah, unfortunately, he didn't place her, I'm sure, where either guy wanted to. The other guys, obviously, just to round out the order, the veteran Akeem Williams, we saw as big as a house as always, just didn't have the structure and the conditioning to go. Chen Long Shen, again, not a guy we really know a whole lot about. He was very big and had a lot of muscle, but just didn't have it all together. And Dorian Haywood, you mentioned, your Masters champ. They all kind of rounded out the top 16. But Shawn, this was not the only battle to be had because in classic physique, wow, what a competition this was. A couple of the early favorites actually did not get the call in the top 5. Logan Franklin, very surprising to me. I thought he was in shape, but at the end of the day, the judges did not like what he brought to the table. Not in the first mix. Matthew Grego, again, another young kid who I'm very high on. I like him. Was not in the mix. But at the end of the day, it was up to 3 guys. Okay, and it came down, and any one of these 3 guys, to me, could have won the title. Terrence Ruffin, okay, the smallest guy in that stage, but one that's very well put together and probably had one of the best posing routines, a la Shawn Ray, a la Lee Labrada, a la Bob Paris. Again, if you put the best routines in history, I would put this one right there with any of yours or theirs. Absolutely phenomenal. The incumbent, Mike Sommerfeld, brought exactly what you thought, even after the hair gate thing, and he made height and all that stuff. So all that got put to rest. And Ramon Dino, he showed up like it was his for the taking. Honestly, Shawn, you could have flipped a coin and put these three in any three order, and honestly, I would have had no problem with it.
Well, with Ramon, I had him all the way straight ones. I was waiting for the water to come out like it did a year ago. He corrected that problem. His color was great. His confidence, and he was there as the winner as soon as he hit the stage. Sommerfeld is not
No,
shy on
no,
confidence. He is polished. I think he thought that was going to be his
as you should
show.
have.
He knew
Sure,
Raymond was going to. He knew Ramon. I keep calling him Raymond. Right?
Ramon,
Ramon.
Ramon.
Ramon. They both walk out there like they were the winners. I think Sommerfeld cracked when Ramon was moved to
Mm,
the center, and his confidence kind of waned just a little bit. And then at the last one, they put Sommerfeld in the middle, but Sommerfeld looked like he was holding a little bit more
a little bit.
water, whereas Ramon dried out from a year ago, and the place
Wow.
erupted in unanimous response to the overall decision. There was no division. There was no
No.
arguing. There was no booing. Ramon won that show free and clear, and the judges got it right. And I think that's when you feel good because you get caught up in the wave of emotion. And I saw at the end he wanted to put the Brazilian flag around him like in the Olympic
Yeah.
Games, and someone shoot him off the
Why?
stage. I thought, come on, give the guy his moment, man. Yeah, they shoot him off
Wow.
like no
Okay.
flags, right? No politics.
I mean, listen, that's not politics.
I thought it would have been a nice
Yeah,
moment.
I didn't see that. I was tending to whatever was coming up.
It's in the Olympics all the time. Like,
But
someone was looking at the watch, like, get off the stage. I'm like, come on, man. The guy, he came all the way from Brazil a year ago. He bombed, and now he wins. You don't give him that's a great photo. Remember Conor McGregor with the
bro, come
Irish
on, any
flag and
Olympics you've ever
the
seen.
Americans in track and field.
It's any Olympics you've ever seen. It's any World Games you've ever seen. These
Yeah,
athletes, they want to represent. I don't have no problem. Like I say, I didn't see that because I was
someone shoot him
tending the
off.
business at the microphone. But anyway, listen,
Yeah,
congratulations,
they
Ramon.
rushed
Listen,
him off.
I'll tell you what, you guys can make it up for that. You can send me and Shawn all the dinosaur emojis that you want because we
I
love
know.
our Brazilian
We'll
fans.
take
And
them.
yes, both of us had Ramon winning 100%. The other two guys were great. You could have made a case either way, and I got to give it to Terrence once again.
Terrence Ruffin gets the best poser award. There's no question. Terrence Ruffin's posing is here, and everyone's trying to catch up. Terrence, kudos to you. That whole thing, the violin, facial expressions. I mean, you're only this big. He's this small, but he was Muhammad McAway resurrected on that stage. He was the maestro. He was the conductor, and he owned every inch of that Olympia stage. And the only posing people talked about was
Yeah,
Terrence's.
well earned because you can tell he really puts a lot of heart and soul into that, and it really stands out. That's I'll tell you what, you want the easiest money ever made? Have Terrence in the Arnold to get that best poser award, or any show for that matter, right?
Yeah,
What
easy
a
money.
tremendous looking athlete he is. But congratulations to Ramon, your new classic champion. We saw C-Bum. He made a brief appearance on stage, very much a part of the sport and giving back. So good to see him. It was your two.
Well, and don't forget about this, Bob. It was $100,000 this year, which is a $50,000 increase.
So let me just, being that you keyed on that, because I have a note here. Yes, so Jake and the team at the Olympia almost doubled the prize money for Classic. First place was 100 grand. Mike Sommerfeld and his, to dry up his tears for second place, put $40,000 in his pocket. So that's a nice pickup. And it went on from there. Shawn, overall, $2 million was given out in prize money over the Olympia weekend. For those that think, there's any comparison with any other great shows out there, there's some good money out there. Listen, the Arnold is a great show and very prestigious. But make no mistake, there's only one show on this earth that gives away $2 million, okay, with every division represented, and that's the Olympia. So congratulations to Jake.
Well, don't be surprised, Bob. Don't be surprised. I'll go out on a limb that with another $400,000, that Olympia first place prize will be given away $4 million in the near future. That's just my
Listen,
prediction.
Arnold has already come out and said he's giving away 750, which is phenomenal. Listen, great for bodybuilding, right? We are rooting him on. I don't know what people think. There's a big, comparison here, or it's a big competition. The Arnold and the Olympia. It's not, okay. We've said this a million times. Okay, the Arnold is a great show. It's Arnold, of
Two
course,
different
but it's a
things.
qualifier
That's two
for
different
the
things.
Olympia. Okay, it's a qualifier to go to the Olympia. Arnold has said, "I'm giving away 750." I tell you what, I'm just throwing this out there. I know it's easy when it's not your pocketbook or your money, but you know what? I'd be giving out, I think, this next Olympia. I would not be shocked if you saw your first ever $1 million first place award. That would be cool.
Don't be surprised if you start hearing Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler and Chris Cormier trying to make some noise, but it's only going to be noise. Trust me. They're not
Well,
coming
speaking
back.
of noise, it was in the 212s. It was Keon and Shawn with their rivalry that they've had. I got to be honest, bro. We saw pictures and video of Keon leading up to this show where he looks like a genetic freak. I mean, his musculature and that tiny waist and all that. And you thought to yourself, there ain't nobody even touching this guy until the Giant Killer walked on stage, and Shawn Clarida, who I actually thought might have been on the back nine, of his career from the last time we saw him. I don't know what this kid did to resurrect his physique, but let me tell you, that was probably the best Shawn Clarida I've ever seen. And he gave Keon a run. You could have made a case because he was in better condition than Keon. And Keon's got to watch that midsection a little bit. He's a little bit too big for his frame. And that midsection starting to do that little separation thing that was going on that Phil Heath had working. He looked tremendous, obviously, but you could have made a case for Shawn Clarida.
That tells you how important conditioning is over size. Because Shawn Clarida.
Yeah, start with
Tell me when.
Shawn Clarida, because Shawn Clarida.
And that should tell you something, because it should tell you how important conditioning is. Because Shawn Clarida, for however big you think he is the smallest 212 guy out there, yet made the biggest impression. There's a reason he has 2 of those titles. There's a reason he's been second place 3 different times. Shawn gets there because he gets in shape. The last couple of times he was a little flat and Keon's coming into his own. Keon played the size game. I talked to him on Friday. He was 211.9 pounds. The limit is 212. If Shawn Clarida was 175 pounds, I'd be surprised. So the illusion of bodybuilding, like we were talking about to Nick, is that if you're in shape, you can bring down the bigger guy, even the more genetically superior guy. I am on record as saying that I think Keon Pearson is the best bodybuilder of all of them, including Derek as Mr. Olympia. And what Derek and Hadi are doing in the open, I believe Keon can do it, but only if he's 100%. Now, Keon's going to have to do some soul searching, because most guys, when they go open, they automatically think,
Nice.
I got to put on another 10,
Right.
20 pounds. If Keon goes in the open like he's about to do at this next show, and he doesn't dial it down a little bit, he's going to become very human real quick. Keon needs to be about 208 pounds in order to be Superman. If he's 220 pounds, it could be curtains.
Well, let me tell you something. He's going to have his work cut out, because Prague is the show you're talking about. It's coming up in just 2 weeks' time. And he's got to get through Fitzwater. Fitzwater's already said, I'm going to Prague, and I'm going to win Prague. And let's dial it back 1 year, Shawn. Even though I didn't agree with the decision, it was arguable. It was Fitzwater that actually beat the great Chris Bumstead, who threw his hat into that open category. And listen, again, I had Bumstead winning. You did too. But again, arguable, okay? Fitzwater this year is better than last year. So this will be a hell of a battle. But you're right. If he goes in there above 212, that might be trouble for him. If he goes in his best conditioning, which, like you said, is probably about 07, 08, maybe somewhere in there, that waist is small. The midsection isn't a problem. But he looks like a cartoon character. He can win that show. Then it would be an interesting dilemma. If you're running Keon's camp, bro, he wins Prague, qualifies for the Open, Shawn. You're the manager, Shawn, now. Where's he go? Do you put him in the Open next year? Or do you put him back to the 212 to try to win number 4?
I put him right in the Arnold Classic.
There you go.
Serve notice. Serve notice. If you beat the number 5 bodybuilder in the world in your first open competition, you stay hungry and you go to that Arnold Classic and make them judges do their job. Keon Pearson to me is the best bodybuilder. He was pushing the envelope this year, and he found out on the biggest stage in the world. Shawn Clarida proved to him that he's human. So Now that he bleeds, and we know that he can bleed, he's got to make sure that he pays attention to the mistakes that he made. He doesn't have to outmuscle these guys. Shawn, he's outmuscled Shawn by probably 25 pounds over the weekend, but Shawn had a case for victory. And it was only because he was in condition. If Keon dials it down, by the way, Chris Bumstead lost last year, not because Fitzwater was a better bodybuilder, because he put on more size to try to win an
Correct.
open show. I said if Bumstead presented his Olympia physique against Big
Good
Ramy
point.
at the time,
Right.
he beats Ramy. He has a better body. So these guys in the classic that jump up and change everything, they don't look like what they're presenting to us. So I think that if Keon recognizes how close Shawn was to beating him, and now he's going up against the number 5 bodybuilder in the world, who potentially will be holding water like he did last year. Keon comes in sliced 206, 205. Suck it up, dial it down. There's no way Fitzwater beats Keon Pearson. There is no way. And if that happens, it tells me that I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. So, Keon, I need you to drop 5 pounds between now and Prague. And you slam the door on whatever Fitzwater brings. Because Fitzwater, in my opinion, as good as he is not.
I'll tell you
Keon
this, Shawn,
Pearson.
your assessment is very good as always, but your advice is even better. I was just thinking Olympia, but you're right. What a great move if Keon goes in the Arnold and it's him against Hadi. Now you want to see some competition, boy. You talk about making your mark. You talk about your opportunity to shine in the sun, and you beat a former Mr. Olympia, and a guy arguably that could have been Mr. Olympia this year. Wow, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
huge.
The rest of the order was we had Keon, we had Shawn on a very closely contested, but Keon comes out on top because of his freakish proportions. Lucas Garcia in third. Nihat Kaya, who's a young kid, a lot of people hadn't heard of prior to this, ends up in fourth place. Let me tell you, this kid's a talent and the future of this division. He's only like 21. He's
He
21,
is.
22 years old.
Yeah, no, he's the future of that division. If he came in shape, he would have been even battling even more. But he is.
Yeah, he's got plenty.
There's victories around the corner waiting
Veteran
for
Courage
him.
Opara takes fifth, and Kareth Bajo rounds out that top six. It was the battle of the Mr. Olympia, Shawn, in men's physique, as you had 4 Olympia champions on the same stage, and everybody knew it was going to come down to who brought it on game day, where you had Ryan Terry, Brandon Hendrickson, Aaron Banks, and Jeremy Buendia, and a comeback for the ages. So we're going to see this one kind of play out. Ryan came out. This kid's just consistent, man. I tell you, he's a veteran. I call him a kid, but to us, he's a kid, right? But he's been doing this for 10 years. People tend to forget, and he has worked his way up. He's been 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th. He has worked his way up, and now he's the 3-time champ. Puts himself in the winner's circle again against an impressive Brandon Hendrickson, Aaron Banks, and Jeremy Buendia came up just a little bit shy, but still represented himself very well. Probably the last time we'll see him. I think he wanted to do one more. Just to kind of prove that, listen, I may not be what I was, but I'm still pretty damn good. And he didn't disappoint.
Yeah, I saw him at the Meet the Olympians. He sounded resigned to the fact that it was it. He wasn't in the top 5. He did what he wanted to do, which was get back on the Olympia stage. He won it 4 times, tore his Achilles. I think he had 1 or 2 kids. He might have one on the way. I'm not sure, but I know he has a couple kids. Opened a huge gym in Sacramento. Lots of stuff going on in his future. I don't think the Olympia is going to be one of those that he wants to go back and do. These guys are young, they're hungry, and the game has changed in reference to classic physique, for example, with Breon Ansley, who fell all the way out of that top 5, out of the top 10. So Jeremy was not in the top 5 where he's very used to being. I don't think there's anything left for him to prove. So I think he'll sell off into the sunset and work his gym.
Well, Breon, we've been down this road.
Ryan
I would have
won.
loved to have counted Breon in the earlier assessment. Unfortunately, he's been ignoring the great advices we've been given for the last 3-4 years. Should have gone to the 212. Now he says he's going to go to the 212, so we wish him the best. I don't know whether it's a little too much, too little, and too late, Shawn, like the old song, but
well, you got done talking about the 22-year-old. I mean, that guy.
Yeah, and what's Breon? 42? I mean, he's. Yeah, whatever. 43. But listen, we love Breon because he's a real good guy, and I hope he's still got gas in the tank, but he's going to have to do it in the 212. But that's a whole nother episode. But Shawn, to round out the Olympia, we got to give credit where it's due. It was our girl Andrea Shaw, your fellow mutant, who makes it number 6, and now it becomes a story. And it can be in that mix of, can she challenge the great Linda Murray and Iris Kyle for all-time status and be up there? It doesn't look like she's slowing down anytime soon.
And we don't see anyone coming
Not
up
really.
behind her. Like, you typically see somebody like this little knee hot guy coming up in the 212. We know what his future looks like. In the women's bodybuilding, I mean, the second place girl was good. She's kind of like
Yeah.
the Shawn
Yeah.
of the women's bodybuilding. I'm not going to take it away. She's got to be a little bit more detailed. She's tiny like Shawn is, but she is no match for what Andrea Shaw brings. Andrea is light years ahead of the competition right now. That's not taking anything away from second place. That's just an observation that she is women's bodybuilding premier queen right now. And until we see somebody in the future, which is not now, come up the same way she did, she can do it for as long as she chooses. She doesn't have to improve. There's nothing for her to
No.
bring up. We're not talking about her
Right.
condition, her calves, her delts, her arm. She can do exactly what she did this year, which she said she put in a lot more work with her coach and suffered, which is probably why she looks so phenomenal. Do it again and again and again. And we could blink, and man, 5 more years goes by, and she would be 11. Miss Olympia 11 times, something no
Yeah.
one's ever done. I believe she can
I
do it.
ain't betting against her. Listen, we just did blink, and she's at 6. We were just talking when she won the 1 or 2. People go, well, let's not get crazy. I mean, listen, that's a long way from 8 or 10. Okay. Well, guess what? Now it's 6. So good for her. She's a great person, a great, fellow athlete, again, fellow mutant on your team. So good for her. Figure the UK represents one. I tell you, we got a UK invasion in Ryan Terry. Making it number 3. He's chasing 4.
Yeah.
He says he wants that all-time record himself. Rhea Gale has worked her way up. I met her as an amateur when I was out in the UK setting up shop there a couple of years back. So she has literally worked her way up. Big shoes to fill as Sydney Gillen, the great one, called it a day at 8 last year on the Olympia stage, one of the great Olympia moments of all time. But she fit in there nicely, beating a very impressive Lola Montez, another one of your mutant crew. Jessica Padilla, who I thought was the heir apparent, and she probably thought she was the heir apparent. But she ended up falling out of that runner-up position. So congratulations to Rhea Gale.
Yeah, and arguably Lola Montez was
She
in
sure
that
was.
hunt. There's a strong case for her. And, she came up from 3rd. She's now 2nd. And for her really to make it solid, she's got to beat Rita next year. So that's going to be a good rematch to look forward to. The women's figure is a division that has a lot of competitiveness.
In the understory of that division was Missy Truscott, who was last year's fitness winner, Olympia winner, but she moved over to figure, try her hand at that. I tried leading her down the path, Shawn, into the women's physique. I'm like, go to women's physique, go to women's physique. I know you did too. She didn't want to do it. She says, I want to try figure. She kind of got bombed out in figure, unfortunately, but you know what? Go to women's physique now, Missy. You have a physique that can hang.
Yeah, she looks.
You can hang
big
with those women's physique chicks. And let me tell you something. They're good. And speaking of which, it was Natalia Abraham Coelho, another superstar from Brazil, who gets back in the center circle, beats Sarah Villegas, and reclaims the title. Those two have now been going back and forth in at least the last 5 years. So good for her. Great physique, a little more V-taper. She just have a very complete hourglass type physique, and I think that's what put her ahead of Sarah. Missy can be right in that mix should she go that road. Also from the UK, and speaking of fitness, where Missy left off, it was Michelle Verdua-Menza, who put herself in the winner's circle with a phenomenal combination of physique and routine. And she's got some, I believe she's from the UK, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, good for her. And again, your fitness champ. Wellness, no surprise here, is Eduardo Becerra, who was 3rd place last year. Franciele Matos, your 3-time champ, called it a day. I don't know if she's done for good or if she just decided to not focus on this Olympia. And she looked great. And Isa Pereira, who was the champ. So these two was the battle of the blonde Brazilians. It was funny. At the end of the day, there was 5 girls in red bikinis in the top 5 of the wellness division. I think all but one was from Brazil. So
yeah, I mean they own that division.
Wheelchair champ James Berg, he was a new champ. Last year's champ did not make it this year. So good for him. And a big shout out to Nick Scott. Again, Nick found himself on the receiving end of having to get some surgery kind of unexpectedly. So we want to give him our best out there. I was going back and forth with him yesterday. So he's going to be okay, but he's got some things to attend to. And bikini to round it out the weekend. So a little bit of an upset here in that Laura Lee Chapados, who was the champ coming in, falls out of the top 5 into 6th place. You don't see that a lot, Shawn.
No, but when it does, there's valid reasoning for it. And that bikini division was competitive. Another reason I don't like to be a judge, but an observer. Um, but certainly she's probably uh, got a lot of soul searching to do because it's tough. I was cheering for Ashley Kaltwasser, who wound up in 5th, I believe it was, because she's just all over the map competing. I think she's won like 53 pro shows and
I think
3 arm classic
153,
championships.
yeah.
Laura Lee knows what it's like. Yeah, Laura Lee knows what it's like to win and lose. She's not considering herself a loser. Again, the Olympia stage is where you make your big mistakes, and she'll be back. I'm sure she's got a phenomenal future, and of course she's working with us over at
Yeah,
Pinnacle
she's
now.
one of our Panada family. So, listen, it didn't go her way, but she's still a tremendous athlete, gorgeous girl on the inside and the outside. So she will rebound. But it was Maureen Blanquisco who held the title, lost it, and then reclaimed it. That seems to be the theme this Olympia, Shawn.
Yeah, and that's hard. That's the hardest thing to do. Again, that's why you can't write Laura Lee off, because when you lose it, sometimes you recognize what you missed. You also recognize what you have to do to get it back. And for Maureen to do that, it validates her perseverance. Because taking a year off and watching someone else come in and do what you used to do, it could play some mind games. That's why we cannot count out Nick, because again, these blown opportunities, they give birth to future opportunities. So you got to have a strong mind with that body, and Marine proved that she can do it, and she
Well,
did.
that's going to wrap it up, Shawn. A little extended version today, but hey, that's the Olympia only comes once a year. That's our Super Bowl of bodybuilding. Of course, everybody will agree with every single thing that we said. We've seen that pattern, Shawn. So get those comments in, everybody. Yes, that's me and Shawn. I say it every week. That's us on there. You want a shot at us? You want to talk stupid? You want to talk bodybuilding? You want to give us praise, or you want to go the other way? We'll take it all. The bottom line is even the ones that hate us, you're still watching, aren't you? And we appreciate that.
Yeah, we had all of those Olympians, and we had one that was not correct with Beirut for numerous reasons. So don't tell us we don't know what we're talking about.
No. Well, I'm off to Dubai tomorrow, Shawn. What you got cooking?
I'll be headed to New Jersey on Friday, Apollon Gym. I'll be with the great Phil Heath and Lee Priest. The Priest is
Wow,
going to
look
be
at
there.
you and Priest
And
out
about
there like
11
bookends. All right.
And we're gonna find out how that fried chicken works in his diet along with McDonald's. He gave Jay Cutler some McDonald's. I'm wondering what he's gonna bring for me. A watermelon? I'm not sure. You
I
never
would
know
have a
with Lee
taste or
Priest.
taste whatever it is he brings you to eat. Just saying, you know what I mean? But listen, Lee's all right. You guys will have some fun going back and forth, I'm sure. Yeah, I'll be making my way to Dubai with Team Panada. We've got the 2 events out there, and we'll be making a trip into Qatar for the first time, Shawn. So I'm going to be over in Doha for a few days and back there, and then we're back again. So we'll try to kick one of these out. But listen, guys, get in there. Like I say, we appreciate all your comments, all your feedback. And as always, we may not always be right, but we ain't never wrong.